All right, guys, supper's all finished up with, and that was definitely needed. The beef strips in there, rehydrated, was incredible. So right now there is a little bit of a sunset going on just in the background, starting to be a little bit yellow and a little bit pink. Boomer and I are snuggled up right in front of the wood stove. I'm going to close this door off soon once the sunset's done. Obviously right now I have a beautiful view looking out of the front of the tent, but it is getting cold. It is -1°C right now, which is nothing crazy, but all my heat's lofting out of the tent. So in order to get unbundled out of these big sweaters, I'm gonna have to shut the doors and build some heat. So I do have the front of the tent pitched really high up off the ground, and I did that just because I want some airflow to come in here to cut down on condensation. The heat rises, so it stays in the tent nicely, but I do want to keep the area nice and dry as well, where we're going to be breathing in here. It's starting to come into winter. We're in the tents a little bit longer now, so to cut down on condensation, I've got it up a little bit high around the bottom. But like I said, heat rises. I'm going to be sitting up, doing things inside of the tent, watching a movie, whatever. So I'll be up here in the heat, and once it's time to go to bed, I'll be in the sleeping bag. Boomer is getting a little cold right now. Like I said, the night air is setting in. The sunset's looking pretty awesome though. And there are really, looking up above the camera and over in this direction, there's no clouds. So the stars are going to be out tonight, which is going to also be very enjoyable. This whole area is going to glow nice and red once the doors are shut and the fire starts building up with the glass windows. So that's always enjoyable too. So looking at a really interesting evening tonight. Movies, probably going to watch a couple movies. Maybe make up some hot drinks on the wood stove and basically just relax on this trip. Nothing crazy, nothing extravagant, just a nice, good old-fashioned, relaxing camping trip. So, we're going to enjoy the sunset and listen to the fire for a little bit. Alright, so sunset is done with, and I've got the outside door shut, backpack pulled inside the vestibule area. Next thing is to do to basically get the camera put away and close this door shut. I've got 2 lights on this trip because I knew I was going to be in here really long tonight. Hours went back, fall, the time clock and all that adjustment stuff. So they're late nights, they're dark nights I should say, long dark nights. I do have all the other panels inside the tent zipped shut. I've got the back vent wide open to get some airflow in here. And talk about sleeping gear really quick before I do crawl in here. For sleeping pad, I brought my Amok. This is the Fuel. This is not the winter light. This is actually the 3-season pad. It's really warm right now, so I'm not going to bother bringing out the winter pad yet. But for sleeping bag, I do have my Thermarest Parsec, which is rated for -18°C. For clothing, I'm just going to be using base layers, like really tight, thin base layers. New socks on my feet, long socks. I'll hike those right up to my knees almost. This sweater I'm going to use as a pillow. And then my inner sweater I'm actually going to wear in the sleeping bag. And that's basically it. Very simple setup. The wood stove I usually do not use to stay warm while I sleep. I let that go out every single time. 2 reasons. 1, I can't be bothered to wake up and keep loading with firewood. And 2, it's foolish to rely on a wood stove to stay warm because things happen. If the pipe gets bent over, if something happens with the stove, if I run out of wood, let's say it was pouring with rain and the wood was wet, sometimes it's difficult to burn. And even if it does burn, it won't put out the same BTUs because it'll burn really slow. So it won't have the same heat effect and you can get cold. So I never rely on a wood stove. I always rely on my gear, proper packing, and I highly recommend everybody does that too. It's foolish to go out there and rely on a wood stove. Like I said, too many things can happen. Just bring a good sleeping pad and a good sleeping bag. With that right there, you'll sleep totally fine as long as it's rated for the temperature. So with that said, I do have a couple snacks in here. I've got my saw and axe pulled right inside the sleeping compartment, which I normally don't do, but I want to keep this area tidy so I can kind of come in and out, not trip over things. That, if it does frost, I don't want any of the frost once the stove's out overnight getting on top of my carbon axe. I don't want it to rust. So I keep all that stuff kind of inside of here, low to the ground, so it'll be protected. Other than that, there's really no wind outside right now. It is almost total darkness looking out. The stars are starting to pop, which is going to be pretty interesting. And that's basically it. So I'm not going to get changed until the door is shut and the heat builds in the tent because it is rather chilly. And at that point, I will get my clothing out and get fully changed. And what I like to do with my shoes is I'll prop them next to the wood stove for probably 2 hours while I'm awake to get them really dry of any kind of moisture inside of them. That way overnight they don't freeze. With my pants, I like to roll them up and jam it down towards the foot end of the sleeping bag. That way when I get up in the morning and get changed into my base layers, these pants are warm. Pull them right up, nice and warm. Little tips and tricks here and there. So other than that, I'm basically going to get the camera shut off and get that situated inside and get changed, get warm, and enjoy a little bit of relaxed time in here. So I'll catch up with you guys first thing in the morning. Good night, everybody. Good morning, everybody. It is a beautiful clear sky morning out here today. A little bit breezy, and it did get cold last night. So it got down to like -3 degrees Celsius. There was frost everywhere. I stuck my head out the tent door briefly just to look, and the night sky was absolutely lit with stars. And I mean lit, like little twinkling stars, shooting stars all over. So I ended up rolling over on my back in the vestibule area, put my head on my backpack, and laid with my head out the side of the tent staring up at the sky, probably about like 12 inches away from the wood stove, just taking it all in last night. It was beautiful. Boomer crashed out. He fell asleep. He did really well yesterday. He was running around. He's a little cold right now, so I want to get him back inside the tent in just a moment. The sun is coming up, so it is starting to warm. All the frost is gone, and hot coffee on the go. But we had a lot of fun yesterday and last night. He was just chasing squirrels. You can hear one right now. There's one nearby, so he might just take off and go and chase that squirrel. Go on. So today's plan is just basically wake up, take things nice and easy. The wood stove and the tent's still cracking away, and I'm definitely going to enjoy that before we pack up. So cheers, guys. Just wanted to bring you up to speed last night, and let's enjoy this coffee with this little bit of an overlook view. Alright, so just had my coffee. It's getting cold, so I'm going to warm it up on the wood stove just for a moment. We're not quite to the point where we're going to pack up yet, but I gotta say, this is pretty awesome having this wide door open up like this to be able to help pack up and to expand the view. Now obviously this direction I don't have much of a view. I don't want to open the other side because the wind is coming in from that way and it'll probably just blow the tent over. But this is definitely pretty awesome relax mode. I really want to get out with this tent, and what I want to do is pitch a big tarp up above, either in the snow or in the rain, and basically be able to sit here with this whole area wide open and still be covered with the tarp and still have the stove rocking away. This is really interesting because what I can do is block in the vestibule, shut those doors, and use this as an entrance, and then just kind of let that heat build and loft back, which is pretty awesome. So today is very basic. We're just doing breakfast, coffee, and packing up. Very, very simple. The clouds are starting to roll in, actually looking up in the sky, and I have not checked the weather forecast, so I don't know if it's going to rain or snow or what's going to happen, but it's definitely cold out, so I think anything can happen. So once that coffee is a little bit warm, I'm going to take a couple more sips and then begin with the pack up process. All right, everybody, you've got everything totally packed up inside of the backpack. It's stuffed in there, but it is in there. So that is it for this adventure. Let me know what you guys think. Out here, there's no snow, no rain, which is kind of a bummer. It is late season. I would have really liked some big old fat snowflakes, maybe next time. But this trip with that tent combo and the stove worked out really great, and I actually enjoyed it quite a bit. So if you guys have any questions or comments, drop them down below as always. And till next time, peace out. I'll see you in the next adventure.